Hi, I'm Jerry Ford, and welcome to this month's edition of the Mug Rug Club. It's summer, it's August, it's hot, and if you listen after dark, you can hear the frogs in the pond down the street making a racket. I've always wondered why a little teeny frog like that can make such a racket, but they do. But to commemorate that, we're going to dedicate this month's mug rug to the wonderful frog. If you would like a copy of this design and you're not already a member of the Mug Rug of the Month Club, send me an email at waltzquilt@yahoo.com and I will be happy to send you a copy of the design and the written instructions. If you'd like to become a member of the Mug Rug of the Month Club, when you send me an email requesting the design, request that I put you on the roster, and then the first of every month I will send you next month's mug rug design, instructions, and the link to the video. So let's get started on this really cute summer mug rug. Okay, to make this cute frog mug rug, you're going to need a few things. First of all, you're going to need your 5x7 hoop. I also recommend that you use dissolve away mesh stabilizer. This is a mesh type stabilizer that will completely dissolve away in water. And you want to have a piece of batting, at least 5x7, that'll fit inside your hoop. You're going to need 2 different colors of cotton. You're going to need, you could use either light and a dark. The color choice is yours. This is going to be my background. This is going to be the fabric for my frog. And of course I'm picking colors to match. This one's going to be for the edging. So I'm going to wind a bobbin with this color as well. This is going to be for the frog applique so you can see him. You also want to have some veining on the lily pads. You're going to need white for the eyes and black for the eyes, and I believe that's all the colors you need. You could go with some darker or lighter because he's got a smile and a nose, and you can sort of decide what colors you like. I'm also going to use a piece of puffy foam or 3mm wide craft foam because the problem with when it comes to the eyes, the white thread is kind of opaque and it's not going to be real clear. So I also want those eyes to stick out a little bit. So I'm going to put this craft foam underneath. You'll need to have a pair of nice sharp scissors. I prefer curved ones like this. Of course, embroidery bobbin thread for most of it, but you're going to need at least about a half a bobbin full of the thread that's going to do the outline on the edge of the lily pad. And then also, I recommend having some T-pins, and I'm going to show you what I do with these T-pins. So let me move this out of the way. See, this is kind of loose. And no matter how tight you turn the screw, you can't go tight enough because on the long edges of the hoop, what happens is that, see, it can pull through and my registration lines no longer match up. So this is a tip that I got from John Deere, who's like my favorite digitizer in the whole world. And I'm going to take these pins just along the edges where the hoops meet. You can use T-pins. You can also use quilter's pins, those curved ones. These work pretty well too. However, you have to be careful. So, because these go in and come out real easy. They don't hold as well. I actually prefer the T-pins because if you put them about an inch apart, and I'm usually on the 5x7 frame, I may use 4. You need to make sure it goes in and comes out just the single layer of stabilizer. Doesn't have to be much because see that right here, that T part is what's going to hold it nice and firm. Okay, and same thing on the other side. Because see what happens here. See, I'm pushing on it. It's not going anywhere. It can't go any further than what these pins allow, which helps your stabilizer to stay in place and not shift into the center of the hoop. Okay. And one more. That's all. You can put them all the way around. You usually don't get too much pull on the short ends. You're going to get more pull on these sides. Okay, so now this is ready to go to the machine. So I'm going to, okay, my design is loaded. I am going to probably flip this because it's not fitting in the 5x7 hoop. So I'm going to take the edit and rotate it 90 degrees. Okay, then put your hoop in. And now I'm ready to end the edit. And now it's ready to sew. The first thing it's going to sew is the outline stitch for the placement of the batting. Over my presser foot and off we go. And I'm using the green. Okay, it's done the outline, so I am going to put the batting over top of the stitching so that it covers all of the stitching, and I'm just floating it on the top. And then I'm going to run the second stitch. This is the tack down for the batting. Okay, that tacked down the batting, so I'm going to take the hoop off of the machine just so I can get to it a little easier. And I'm going to trim the batting away from the outside of the stitching. Reason I do that is because I do not want this to add too much bulk. I want it to just have the ends so that they're nicer. Okay. I'm going to return the hoop to the machine. I'm going to place my background fabric for the lily pad on top of the stitching. I want to make sure that it covers all of the stitching by about at least 1/4 of an inch around, and I'm just going to hold this in place while it does the tack down. I'm going to leave the same color on here. Okay, I'm just going to hold that a little bit. Okay, it's tacked down. I'm not going to remove any of the fabric just yet. I'm going to let it stitch the rest of the mug rug. And then after I put the backing on, then I'll go ahead and trim everything at the same time. So the next color, which is color stop number 4, is going to give me the leaf veins on the lily pad. And I'm going to use this same medium green. Okay, and next is going to be the outline for the body of the frog. I have threaded my needle with a little bit darker thread in order to match the fabric that I'm going to use for the frog's body, and I'm going to do the placement for the frog's body. Okay, I'm going to cover the stitching so that it covers everything with that fabric, and I have a big enough piece to do the head as well, so I'm just going to do it all at one time. Do one piece of applique. You could have 2 different pieces if you want the head to be a slightly different shade. I'm not really interested in doing that. And then I'm going to take this out of the hoop, and I'm only going to trim the bottom part, not the top. It's hard to see because it's about the same color as the top. So I'm just going to cut this here. And I'm going to trim this excess fabric. I'm going to go ahead and do this off camera because my color is so close to the thread, I can't see it. So I'll be right back. I'm going to do this off camera in much better lighting and with my other glasses on. Okay, you've seen that I've trimmed around his legs and his lower half. Put the thread, I put a little bit darker thread in here. I'm going to do color stop number 7 for the legs. Actually, this is going to take about 8 or 9 minutes to stitch because I have mine at a relatively slow speed. So actually, I'm going to continue this color stop off camera so that it doesn't waste your time, because y'all know what stitching looks like. And see, it's just doing a satin stitch to seal in the edges. Okay, the next color stop is number 8, and it's going to do the placement for the head of the frog, but I'm leaving this all in one piece, so instead of trimming and putting in 2 different pieces, I'm just going to fold that back and do the tack down and placement at the same time. Now if I hadn't left it all in one piece, then I would now at this time put the piece for the head on and do the tack down. Color stop number 9. Okay, and then at this point, I'm going to remove the fabric from the hoop, and I'm going to trim away the fabric from outside of the head. Okay, everything is trimmed. And now I'm going to stitch color stop number 10. And then this is going to seal in the edges of the frog's head. Okay, I've threaded the needle with just white, and here's where the eyes are going to be, so I am going to just put in a scrap of this 3mm wide foam, and I'm going to stitch the white for the eyes. The last time I didn't do that on the example, I did not do that. I didn't put the puffy foam in there because the frog was light, and therefore the white did not shadow through that. This is going to squash it down, but I don't care. It's still going to be puffier than not having it. Next, we're going to do the details and the whites of the eyes, and the pupils of the eyes, and his little smile. I'm going to use black, but first I need to remove this. And I'm going to pull that puffy foam in the direction of the stitching. That way I don't pull any of the stitching out. And I don't have very much sticking out. If you end up seeing the puffy foam, you can take a hot iron and just touch it right along the edges, and this will shrink up inside the stitching. Okay, I've threaded the machine with black, and now I'm going to do the pupils of the eyes, as well as his little smile and the nose. Okay, I've put yellow thread in the needle this time, and this time I'm going to do the little polka dots, or the little dots on the side of his face and legs. I know it calls for green, but I want to use yellow. And this one you're going to have to cut the jump stitches because the space between the jumps are kind of small. Now we're going to work on assembling the back to the front, and I'm going to use this as my satin stitch that's go around the perimeter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wind a bobbin with the same color thread. Okay, I'm going to take the hoop off the machine, and I need to change the bobbin right now. I'm going to put in, I will only need about a half a bobbin. If you are using embroidery bobbin thread, you might want to change to your regular sewing bobbin if your machine came with one. That way it'll give you a little bit more balanced stitch. Although they're the same color, I'm not changing mine, but if I got a bad stitch, then I would. Okay, then we're ready to put the backing on. So here this is finished, and see see his little face, he's so cute. Okay, so now I want to put this on the back so that it covers all of the stitches, and I don't want to get too far into that part. I'm going to use these curved pins for a minute. Don't get excited, I'm not going to leave them here. Okay, and I'm just going to put 2 for now. I like to use the curved ones because they're easier to get through. And I'm just going to hold this on this side. And I'm going to put this pin so that it's holding all the layers together. You could tape. I'm not even going to close the pin. I'm just going to leave it up. Okay, and I'm going to here's this one on this side. So I want this nice and smooth. Okay, so I'm going to turn this over. I'm going to take this pin like this, smooth anything out, and in the corner where I know that I'm not going to have any stitching, then I'm going to put that pin in there, and it's going to hold all the way to the back. See, it's already coming through the back, but it's well outside the stitching line. Okay, same thing on this side. Said I don't close them. What I like about these pins is they're easy to put in because you just put them down and then you sort of pull up a little bit, and it easily goes through the top of the hoop without having to shift anything. So push this down, get it nice and smooth. See, now it comes through. I'm not even going to close those pins. I'm just going to push them outside the area. I said you can use tape, but the problem with tape is that when you go to put your hoop back into the machine, that tape usually lets loose and then ends up pulling it and rolling it all the way down. And see, I've covered all the stitching, so I'm good. But if you are going to tape, what you want to do is put it into the clasp, get it up underneath of the foot, then lift on the side as you push this in, and that way you won't be rubbing the bottom of your hoop along the bed of the machine. Okay, and I'm just going to make sure these are well passed. All right, and now I'm going to stitch through all 3 layers. If you are worried that you're afraid that you're going to be hitting pins and you don't, because that will instantly make a big mess of your machine, if you have a brother or a baby lock, you can simply hold this in. Keep your finger on that start button, and this machine is never going to go any faster than this. Okay. Once you let go, then it goes faster. But I'm not worried about it hitting those pins. They're outside. At this point, once it's been around once, everything is secure, and if you feel better, just take the pins out. They're fine, you don't need them anymore. And continue stitching. The last stitch here is the sealing stitch. It's going to do a satin stitch all the way around. Now is when we want to trim. So at this point, I will trim one side at a time, and like I said, it's a lot easier if you've already trimmed that batting one time. I'll finish this off camera, but I will show you just a little bit. Doesn't have to be super close. I've got a fairly wide zigzag. Okay, so I've got this top part. Turn it over and cut the other side. Don't cut your stabilizer, just the background and the backing fabric. I'll show you. So you can see through it. You want to see, don't cut your stabilizer. And you probably want to cut a little better than that. I'm going to go ahead and cut the rest of this off camera just to save a little bit of time. I've trimmed all of the excess fabric from around the lily pad, both front and back. I'm going to return the hoop to the machine, and now that I have the matching green thread in the needle and the bobbin, I'm going to do the last color stop and stitch it. And this is, again, like watching the grass grow. Especially for this part, if you tend to stitch rather quickly, it's a good idea to slow it down, because anytime you stitch a satin stitch, a wide satin stitch, the slower the speed, the better your stitch. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and finish this off camera because this is going to take quite a while to stitch out, because it does a double lattice underlayment so that it gives you a nice thick edging. I don't like, whenever you have mug rugs or patches or whatever, I like that outer stitching to be nice and firm, and so therefore I've sort of overstitched it with a little bit heavier density so that we'll get a nice outer stitch. Okay, see you in a little bit. Okay, it's all finished. So I am going to remove the hoop from the machine. I'm going to take the T-pins out, put them back in the box. See, they're easy to remove. My favorite thing to start removing the stabilizer is to simply take seam ripper, a sharp one, and this you go right along the edge. This won't tear up. It won't tear out the stitching or cut it. And you can get most of the way around. It's just cutting the stabilizer. This down, and then just take the stabilizer and cut it out. I just have a little bit that I have to cut with scissors where it didn't come out too easily. I'll just trim it here. Okay, and then trim the rest of this away. Okay. Gets most of it. You want to check that you don't have any little hairs of thread sticking out. Here's where it started and stopped, so I want to take that out. I have some jump stitches in here that I had to take out, and there was one jump stitch here. Now, over here, where, see, it kind of looks kind of fuzzy around as the little oogly eyes. So I'm going to put my little small iron on hot. So see how the eyes are kind of rough around the edges? So if I take my iron on the hot setting and I just touch the edge, you could use one of those little clover irons too. And the heat of this, I'm just touching it. just enough to get that plastic or that foam hot. And the foam is going to retract inside the stitching, and it's going to look a lot neater. If you're going to give this as a gift, what's going to happen if they spill their drink on the mug rug, and this is with any time you use the wash away stabilizer, that it's going to shrivel up in spots, so it's going to cause this to look like, you know, yucky. So if you're going to give it as a gift, I recommend that you immerse the whole thing in warm water, let it soak for a few minutes, take it out, dry it flat, you know, like on a towel, then press it, and then all of your stabilizer is dissolved, and then you can press it flat. If you don't care or it's not going to, you're not worried about it, then take a little water on a Q-tip or on like this little sponge that I got. I don't know where I got this from. I think I got this from a friend of mine who's a nurse. And this is what they do to wet patients' lips when they're in ICU. And it works. And here's a little thread that I've got to clip. And that way it just gets the outside. And then it dissolves that. See how it dissolves the edge? You don't see it at all. Okay, let that dry really well. Give it a press. It's all done. And it's really, really cute. If you would like a copy of this design and you're not already a member of my Mug Rug of the Month Club, then send me an email at waltzquilt@yahoo.com and I'll be happy to send you this design in PES format. It'll fit a 5x7 frame. If you have any questions or comments, send me an email. And until next month, I will see you. We're going to have a really cute one again next month that you're going to really like. And it's especially for back to school. So, I will talk to you later. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like, subscribe, share, and hit the notification bell. See you guys next month. Bye!